One of the things that I've become known for in certain circles is for correcting members of the press when they're not getting a story right for whatever reason. It happens. Like the wide misconception that conservatives do not have a sense of humor. That is a false and malicious myth, and the paper and the media is just full of it. And that's an example of nice, gentle humor at the press's expense. Another happy medium might be the psychic who sent me the front page of the Washington Post from the day before Armageddon. World ending tomorrow. Women minorities to be hardest hit. See, we do have a sense of humor. We're bleeding heart conservatives, we're compassionate, and like Mike Huckabee, I feel like I'm a conservative. I'm just not angry about it. I'm angry about some things, but it's not towards anyone just because they disagree with me. Like Barry Goldwater and Bill Buckley, may he rest in peace, and George Will, I followed solid conservative principles that lead me sometimes to disagree with conservative factions on this or that. But I have a solid record on the environment because I believe there's something inherently conservative about conservation. I think it makes sense. I'm not going to improve our local environment by riding in with lawyers ablazing. Those days are gone. It's not my style anyway, but we're getting some stuff done. I'm here because I love my community, and if anyone asks me about the 3 Democrats who are also running for the same position, I'm not going to call them socialists. I'm not going to call them radicals. I'll call them neighbors. And I have a record of working really well with local Democrats, and I believe in the two-party system with its natural checks and balances. I coined another phrase to explain my position on that, and that is, this eagle flies on 2 wings. Enmity towards my fellow Americans just for being Democrats is no part of my kind of patriotism. Inspiration and persuasion is what I brought to campaigns before this one. Broad, inspiring themes, anchored with nuts and bolts policy positions is where I hung my hat. And in just a bit, I'll be talking about some more of the broad themes. While the timing could not have been worse, though, I got sucked into a very contentious policy debate over the Juvenile Detention Center, or more properly, the current plan for a Juvenile Justice Center at the cost of over $22 million. The timing was awful from a political standpoint, but it was time to say something. Like most of our serious local problems, the juvenile services issue isn't about Democrats and Republicans. It's about a status quo mentality, in my opinion, and business as usual versus the principles of reform. I'll make this short. Judge Loretta Rush has called twice for the plans to be scaled back. As a local citizen and a candidate for the nomination on the Republican ticket for county council at large, I call on the county council to oppose further expenditures on the current plan, to refuse to allocate funds for the current plan, and to refuse to convey bonding authority to raise money for the current plan. Oh, you'll hear that the role of the council is merely to consent to raising and spending money. That's not true. First off, leadership is not a spectator sport. Any elected official can be expected to respectfully present their opinions and represent their constituents by using their public prominence to speak. Watching local citizens take heat in the public square for dissenting while 7 council members have been silent is wrong. I think the definition of council indicates a lot more input was envisioned by the framers of the Indiana Constitution. Yes, the powers of the purse strings in Indiana County government, as spelled out in the state's constitution, are indeed reserved specifically for the various county councils. But as I consider the roaring silence of the officials regarding the public opposition to the current juvenile justice plan, it's obvious to me that something must be changed. The way that officials view the county council might be the best first step. Because of the shortened primary season, crowded field, what are we down now to? 13 and 11. 11 people. It's crowded. And a presidential race that's still unresolved and still sucking up a lot of the bandwidth of the media, we're compressing this entire campaign. And that includes previewing a couple issues now that we'll return to in later events and on our website. Innovation is something that drove our modernization of the county surveyor's office, which runs now on a staff of about 1/3 of similarly sized counties and continues to win awards. Innovation is also driving the way I look at government problems. For instance, before the $22 million question, the biggest thumb in the eye of local taxpayers was the Tippecanoe County Amphitheater. Beautiful place. It cost a lot to build, it cost a lot to maintain, and it can't earn much revenue. I'll be making a proposal for a low-cost plan to make the amphitheater self-supporting, and a major asset to our arts community. But that will not have an impact on the future that the central theme of this campaign will have. In my humble estimation, we have taken one of the preeminent economies for a community this size in the Midwest. We managed to torpedo our existing homes market and put our rental market on welfare. That is exactly what it is when landlords feel no choice but to qualify and seek out government housing vouchers. The costs of this poor stewardship include overwhelming of our jail and courts and the hollowing out of neighborhoods all throughout beautiful Lafayette. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. And I like to ask the rhetorical question at this time, who is driving this iceberg?